This content is for informational and educational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever by Draper Gorin Blockchain, aka DGB, the presenter, or other associated parties for the content being provided. Please do your own due diligence and seek proper counsel.
Boom. Was up. I'm looking down at my phone because Bitcoin. How about you?
I mean, I have it up on the screen, so in all fairness.
But I got alerts. I got alerts to my phone because of
I'm jaded.
Because of the live stream started. Yeah, that's what we were talking about before we came on. This is something that we've discussed a bunch of times. Like when you look at Lunar Crush and you see what's going on, like right now, this instant, in the media and on, and on Twitter and stuff, talking about Bitcoin, and you start realizing, like, why is nobody talking about it, right? Like, why is there was a moment, like I think I posted like last week, where Bitcoin was the most discussed topic, like was discussed more than whatchamacallit, the whole traditional stock market. But
if you go up there, but if it doesn't make it up there all the way, like, it's going to be really sad. Like, we had a double top, in the last cycle, and we had a high in March. If we can't break and sustain that high, you're going to almost feel like it's a repeat of last cycle, and that would not be good for Bitcoin at this point, right? Like, for this up technology that
let's go.
is supposed to get higher each cycle. Like,
look, there is a spike right now, a big spike in people, in individuals discussing like individual people discussing Bitcoin right now. It actually is a huge spike. So that's actually really rad. Here, let me share my screen. Let's do some screen sharing. Also, let me just double check.
I've got friends that are telling me to, you should sell now. It's like, no, I believe in this. But the thing is like, if Bitcoin actually doesn't perform, and let's say it did go back down, like, I think a lot of people's like perceptions of Bitcoin at that point would be destroyed.
Well, look at this. This is pretty cool, because I thought that, you can see that price, right, does increase the number of people, but look at that trough right there for the last few months, right?
Yeah.
Like, people just
stop
talking about it, even though we were at 64K, right? Like, this is like you look at, this is like, just hold on, I'm like, I think something weird is going on here. Oh, okay. Look, like, we're talking about 50K. This is these crazy Bitcoin prices, right? Like, we're at the. By the way, I have roofers on my house. You guys hear that? Do you hear that?
Yeah, we hear that.
They're right above the room I'm at. Is them working on the ceiling, working on the roof, some kind of metaphor for what's going on right now?
I don't know.
But look at this though. Like, if we look at Lunar Crush, like, is that not nuts? Like, Bitcoin being at 62K a few months ago and nobody talking about it. Bitcoin getting to 66K or so, 65, nobody talking about it. Now a big spike of people talking about it, because they think we might hit an all-time high, right? We're almost at 73K. The all-time high is 74 essentially, right? It's pretty wild. Layer on sentiment.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Look, social dominance. I think that's interesting. People talking about Bitcoin compared to other things. Get rid of sentiment. Just go social dominance. Right. And engagements. Like, people, there's been spikes where Bitcoin is like the top thing discussed, but just for a second. And then
and it's crazy. I had, I do a crypto meetup, and I had a new person, completely new to crypto last night, and comes in and asks about some random coin that I've never heard about. And I mean, I have to say, it's possibly a scam. I would stick to Bitcoin and learn about crypto. If you're going to buy something, okay, safely, you might be able to buy some Bitcoin. Oh, it's so expensive right now. Yeah, I know. And like, buy away a little tiny bit, whatever you're willing to lose. But like, I would not be buying just random coins, And I give a pretty good long talk and explanation and all this. But like, it's amazing. You still have people want to come in and talk about some shit coin. And granted, I'm in plenty of shit coins, but you have to own some Bitcoin first. And then my thing is once you own some Bitcoin and you feel comfortable with your position of Bitcoin, then go shitcoin.
Well, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's really funny because if you said this to my brother, my oldest brother is a financial advisor.
Yeah.
And I would bet his advice would be, take care of your retirement, all like your IRAs, your 401ks, whatever the heck you're supposed to do before you start, day trading, right? Even if you think Apple is the thing, even if you think Amazon is the thing, and then you go down the whole list, right? I think most of us who are bought and sold on this space feel that way about Bitcoin. First, you figure out your retirement, right? First, you figure out your legacy, which is what's the amount of Bitcoin you want to get. Like, is that 1 Bitcoin? Is that 10 Bitcoin? Is that 3 Bitcoin? Whatever.
Never
Start working on that. Then once you figure that out, go nuts. Right? And of course, you could argue, okay, well, Bitcoin, but it's less risky probably than some of the others. But again, there's a spectrum, and everybody has that spectrum. And I might think, ApeCoin is on the safe end of that spectrum, but it's probably not. That's where you got to look at these things. By the way, okay, put all your eggs in the biscuit. You're happy with that. Yeah. I think I feel that way, right? I had a for a while, I had a goal, and I hit that goal, and then I still treat the Bitcoin like a savings account. I'm never gonna touch it, right? Oh God.
Well, I'm a fan of liquidity pools and stuff like that, right? And
yeah,
and I thought it was brilliant because on the last market high cycle, I took profits in the Bitcoin, into WBC, wrap Bitcoin, and then sadly watched it fall. And I thought it would be smart, and I'm like, I'm going to use liquidity. And one of the fascinating things about liquidity pools is you learn that the good asset always will transition into the inferior asset. Well, lately the inferior asset has been Ethereum against Bitcoin, and I've literally watched a significant amount of Bitcoin, wrap Bitcoin in DeFi, bleed off into Ethereum. And then you start to realize, I wanted that Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well,
especially the price goes up. And I'm hoping Ethereum. I love Ethereum. Ethereum is great. I love what's being built on it. I love the L2s that are going on. But the thing is I want more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
and so when I start getting up with more Ethereum, this is not a good thing necessarily.
It is funny, right? Like, but again, these are the best problems in the world to have, because that's the reason why I'm baffled that we're jaded. I'm baffled that the rest of the world is jaded when you zoom out. Because if we discussed 2 years ago, right, a year ago even, that this date today, this is what the prices would look like, we'd be like happy as a clam, right? Like we'd be like, hell yeah. you zoom out a year beyond that, a year beyond that, a year beyond that. All of a sudden, if we said that there was any day, like I could guarantee you that there's a date in the future where Bitcoin is above 70K, we would be like, we won. We
I
did it.
can't wait to
We
go
did
back
it.
and watch these
Like that's
videos
what,
a lot,
right?
I can't wait to watch these videos like 4 years from now. But
Yeah.
like, there's like my hold is like, 4 years, 10 years. Like I don't. It's a savings account. Like I don't. I was explaining somebody. I was explaining to somebody biblical parables right last night, and I said one of the fascinating things about biblical parables is they were written in a time period where money was gold, where gold was money. And there's this parable about putting your money in the ground, and it was disdained, and it was looked down upon because the guy put the money in the gold versus making it produce something. I said what's funny about that is today, if you were to take gold and bury it in the ground, you actually did a good job because that gold actually went up in value, which is completely counter to what the Bible is talking about. Because if you the problem is once Bitcoin becomes money, it doesn't make sense to hodl it anymore because it's not going to do anything. Like it's done. And then then you spend it and put it to better use.
I don't know if it ever will because of the fact that it's become.
We're not going to leave the inflationary system anytime soon.
Yeah, right. And the thing is, the Bitcoin you have to put, akin maybe to gold, but in the times where, like you said, those stories were written, when those stories were written, gold was money, but there wasn't inflation, right? Because gold was money. And if you look at if you do look at money and you look at real estate, for example, it does go up, or it has historically gone up more than inflation. So there's another asset you could be in. So I think the whole point was put the money to work, right?
If gold was money, real estate would sometimes be deflationary because the wear and tear of the house. Like things hold value to gold. Like
you're right. I think that real estate inflating more than inflation is also a product of interest rates going down over the last.
Real estate value is a product of zoning. Zoning and banks going in. If we can constrict zoning and constrict regulation on housing, we can then cause prices to go up, make more money on mortgages where they charge a premium up front because of the interest that's charged up front. Right. And so there's a whole ploy there. If we didn't have zoning and building regulations and you could build anywhere, real estate would collapse because you just go find a piece of land and put a house on it. It's all controlled.
There's the flip side of all sorts of arguments, right? And would that be good or bad? Depends who you ask. If you own a piece, if you own a piece of land, you're deeply offended and pissed off that you're not allowed to do what you want on your own land, right?
I look forward to the day that I can spend Bitcoin and buy an appliance and know that appliance will last me the rest of my life. And I'm spending my Bitcoin for a good purpose. Today, I can't say that with something I can buy in the store.
No,
we don't build quality.
Hey, I'm stoked to see some friends on the feed. We're gonna be doing what's up, Emilio, and Milton. You got some crew on here, and then we got Kevin as always. He's got some insights too. But what I was just gonna say is we're gonna be doing some experimenting to try and do some things kind of similar to the old blockchain and booze days. I don't know if we're gonna do full on like every week some kind of setup with we can read what Kevin says in a second. And
I have a feeling he's something towards.
Bye Tezos. But here's what I was just gonna say about community stuff, because we have a ton of people depending on the topic, right? We come last minute, like today, we still have a bunch of people watching live, and we have a bunch of people who watch after. And by the way, something I didn't throw on the screen, go to dgb.vc, sign up for the newsletter. We're gonna start promoting more and more and more. So but all I was going to say is that we're going to experiment in the next couple of weeks with cool community things. One of them will probably be more like asynchronous, where we can go somewhere. You can watch these after the fact, but then we could have a chat and like a message board of people in between things, so you could connect with various people, have conversations. And That is true, Kevin. You did not say it, but we just assumed as the supreme chancellor of Tezos community. By the way,
When
nobody
Kevin McCloskey
appointed
Tezos.
you except for me. And I'm giving you the title of what would be the best title for Kevin, like chief evangelist, rock star.
He is the Tezos Jesus.
Tezos Jesus. Oh no! Oh no! Nah, because Tezos has this right. Yeah, that is true. That is 1,000,000% true. But all I'm saying is you have been the rock solid foundation of community.
Yes.
Think about
I will
when we first met. Kevin was pushing to put a booth at our crypto conferences, like 2017, 2016, whenever we switched over from crowdfunding to crypto, to have a booth for Tezos, just for the community. Yep, Kevin and Snoop's son, says Milton. Is he doing Tezos stuff now again or ever? I'm not sure, but that's awesome. I met him at Minneapolis with VCon or something.
I'm looking forward to seeing how next year is going to work in the whole Twitter crypto influencer meme space, right? The FBI had launched like a meme coin, right?
They did?
Well, yeah, I don't know if you know that. So the FBI creates a token project, the Trojan horse, right? To basically, the title was a crypto operation that seizes 25 million, right? And what they were trying to do is essentially they were trying to basically find, I don't know if it was influencers or people that were facilitating pump and dumps and doing wash trading, right? And I don't know how many people realize, but like right now, like in the crypto space, a lot of times people will use a universal wallet, right? Where a universal wallet means you basically treat all your addresses as if they were one for cost basis purposes, right? Well, there's a problem with that. And the problem is it's hard to go after people wash trading when you use a universal wallet, if every wallet is considered one wallet. What's interesting is in next year in 2025 and starting in January, the IRS is now taking away the idea of universal wallets, and each wallet will basically be an account basis, which isn't going to work for all blockchains. So I'm curious on how this is going to roll out and how it's going to affect things. But for tax purposes, they're going to look at each wallet address as an individual account base. So now what's fascinating about that, and I'm curious on seeing more talk about this, but from a wash trading point, if I have two wallets and I buy a crypto asset in one wallet and then I sell it and I sell in another wallet, I'm technically wash trading, which is illegal. And so I think they're intentionally doing this to go after those who are pump and dumping, because if I bought this in one wallet,
that'd be great.
And then all of a sudden I'm buying it in another wallet to get people to buy in, like I'm on Twitter or something like that, and I'm pumping a coin, and then all of a sudden I'm selling it in another wallet, because those are two independent wallets, I technically would be wash trading.
Yeah.
Because
this is the work that FBI should be doing, right? Or I don't know about FBI, whoever's in charge, the SEC, right? Instead of doing the non anything that they do, they should be catching people that actually are defrauding people.
But it's creating a rule. But so now here's another question though. Here's the problem with that. Let's say you're using Ethereum and you bought Ethereum, but you're spending your Ethereum because you spend Ethereum on chain as gas or for whatever purposes. Are you now wash trading because you bought Ethereum in one wallet address and now you're selling it in another address?
I mean, that's like saying I keep dollars in my bank account, but in my Wells Fargo account, but I use my Chase account for buying coffee. And am I trying to hide something from someone?
Well, so the question is are they property? Like, does Ether get an excuse because it's not a security? And
I think honestly, that
I love the complexities of these arguments.
They're just, but it's the thing is, they're making something that's not complex, right? Because by saying it's individual counts and this and that, but like at the end of the day, they're just gonna have to figure their shit out and catch up with the rest of the world and realize if David Rankin controls these, and it's not Ethereum because he can't control Ethereum unless you were like a trillionaire, right? You can't, right? So if it's if it's ApeCoin and you happen to be one of the largest holders and you're doing some shady things, you have responsibilities.
I think it's creating rules so that if they need to go after you, they have the rules in place where they can go after you.
Any rule would be great, even one that sucks, because then we can at least poke at it and fix it, right?
Yeah.
Although I say that out loud, but there are rules that have completely destroyed things, like the accredited investor rules and stuff like that are just horrible. And unfair, but I don't think thing is they just have to learn. So
it completely it really gets confusing when you start talking about UTXOs and like Bitcoin return addresses, and like you're going to carry each one of these addresses as a separate address, and then cost reporting.
I think do they see like a Schwab account and a bank account and a CD and a piece of real estate and all these different things as separate accounts? My Robinhood account, they look at those as separate accounts, but they can recognize that they all belong to me, or they all belong to you, or they all belong to a trust or a company or whatever. So I think that like by pretending like it's something totally different, which it really isn't, it's just a better version of what exists. It's like I would rather, if I were the government, track your wallet than track your bank account, because I can trust what's being like the results of your bank account. I can't trust what the balance of your bank account. That means I trust a company that I've actually asked to pay penalties for fraud every single year since the history of those fraud penalties, right? Like they somehow trust JP Morgan, or I don't know the exact, Wells Fargo, right? How many times has Wells Fargo paid billions of dollars for fraud? Lots and lots of times. Have they ever discovered fraud inherent in a smart contract? I don't think that's ever happened, right? It either works or it doesn't, right? There's fraud, like humans commit fraud. So we've had, and we should try to,
because of transparency.
I'm going to message some people, because we had law enforcement people be on like previous conferences, and they across the board said they'd rather be trying to find criminals that are doing things on chain.
Absolutely.
Right. So I would love to see if they still feel that way. Right?
That's why I think politicians should be on the blockchain. I mean, politicians should be public officials. If they're public, they should have their finances publicly available. So we should know who's giving them money and whatnot. It should be all public, and it should be on the blockchain. And then we would solve a whole bunch of problems. Except none of them will ever want to do it.
Well, because then we would create a problem for them of people actually knowing what they're doing.
I believe in living my life as like an open book. If you live your life like an open book with an open book policy, and you're an honest person, you should have no reason to have your information public like that. Like it's fine, right? Other than
only for privacy and safety and security, you want to have privacy, right?
Yeah. But if you're a public official, they're supposed to be public. So why not have a public documentation of it?
Hey, if you're a public official, somebody is legally allowed to take a picture of you on the street and publish it, right? Like that's allowed. If you do that to a private person who wants privacy or whatever, they can get in a lot of trouble, right? But I can make my job following Nancy Pelosi around and taking pictures of her through every window she doesn't cover, and that's allowed legally, right? Like that's the freedom of press, right? Because we're supposed to have, there should be, like maybe that's a crazy like militant move that like certain communities do. Like we're all gonna buy drones and just follow around politicians taking pictures of them because it's freedom of the press. But the whole thing, and they say, but they will protect journalists when they do that to like celebrities and people. They go, hey, you're a celebrity, you go into the public eye and whatever. It's freedom of the press. So if they are willing to say privacy is not really privacy once you decide to be a public figure and whatever, then how come they're allowed to have these private transactions and disclosures that aren't in real time don't fit today's, model, right? If we're allowed to track Taylor Swift's private jet and know exactly when she's taking off and where she's landing, how come you can't do that with a politician's bank statements?
Yeah, right. You have to wait. You have to wait like 90 days.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Especially because in between those 90 days, they're making rules and trading on those rules, and it happens over and over again. They can't deny that at this point, right?
This is why I can't wait for assets to be digital, because when assets are digital and you can see it on chain, we will know so much more information.
Kevin, it's kind of like I think there's it's a funny way to say it, right? Is that why so many people who become public officials are total creeps? So here's the thing. I think that there's two things. There are total creeps who want power, right? It's like people who are drawn to be cops because they want power over other people. And then I think there are good people who want to become cops, who want to become politicians to make change, but power corrupts, right? Because at a certain point of being a public, being on the payroll of the public, it's hard to be Bernie Sanders forever, right? At a certain point, you realize, oh, there's people willing to give me millions of dollars for a book deal. There's people willing to do this. I have all this asymmetrical information, and it's hard to not use it at a certain point, especially when you probably spend time in those hallways and realize everyone around you is doing it and getting away with it. And the only way to be reelected is to spend a lot of money. And then where do you get that money from? And then all of a sudden, power ends up corrupting the person too, the people who came in for good reasons. So I think it's kind of like a two-way system. There's not that many people that come in, who knows? Elizabeth Warren could have come in for really, really wonderful and great reasons, but she also, she now has a net worth of, $70 million plus, and clearly that's not very possible on her salary for the last career, right? And how do you do that? With asymmetrical information. But when you're a politician and that information is got from doing what's supposed to be the public's best interest, it starts to look really bad.
I was in a Twitter space this weekend, and somebody made a comment that I don't know if I really thought about, and it was regards to MMT, modern monetary theory, right? And they brought up they were talking about taxes, and somebody made this comment. I went and looked it up, and so essentially, taxes play a different role than traditional economics in the modern monetary theory, right? And instead of being a primary source of revenue, taxes serve as a tool to regulate demand and control inflation. And I thought about that and went, holy shit, because of the idea the government continues to spend, right? They don't need the tax revenue to pay off debts because they don't plan to pay off the debts. And so really all that taxation does is become a method to reduce consumer demand, because if I tax your income and you have less income, now you have less money to spend. So now we have less inflation. And I went, that is the most asinine pain in the ass thing that I've ever heard.
It's the thing is, I don't think most politicians
understand economics.
Yes. And I don't think they've made the concerted effort to do these things. I think there's a few people who in certain cycles and things do what's best for them. And essentially they also control most of the politicians, because I don't believe, right? Kevin's piling on right now, and we probably shouldn't keep going down that rabbit hole, right? But I think there's certain politicians who what they say out loud and what they do is so different, right?
Yeah.
We're using Elizabeth Warren as this example because it's also, I think I use that as an example because it's deeply offensive to me, because most of the policies she's had historically are things that I would get behind, right? And but the thing is, the stance that a lot of them have when it's an anti-crypto stance feels insane, because you can, on both sides of the aisle, point at why crypto could be the savior of everything they've ever said was their policy, right? If you're a pro-union person, there's nothing that's more of a union and more, of a democratic process than like a DAO could be, right? You should be looking at this technology going, holy shit, we could actually have fair elections. We could actually make decisions for the people, by the people, the way the people want it to be done.
So I would believe Elizabeth Warren if she came out and said one thing. right? And she said, I realize that I'm wrong, that crypto is not likely used for money laundering, but that it is the entrance into a surveillance economy, and that's why I'm afraid of crypto. Then I would be like, holy shit, she actually learned something.
But she would be the first in line in the current narrative to say, you know what? This like they could maybe say the first part of what you said and then go, and this is why we should use this technology to replace the US dollar and make it a CBDC and make it
Well, no, we already have that. We already have that, I think.
I know we kind of do it through private companies that, you know, they obviously have insights into that we'll never know about. Yeah. And that's you know, but the funny thing
I bought USDC in the last week.
Why not? But that's the thing. You're transparent and you're cool with it, right? Like, you know, this not the.
I'm not sure I like that idea of a surveillance economy that we're walking into.
No, I think the whole point of privacy and free speech and all that stuff is where you know, is where we start going down this rabbit hole. And I hate all the slippery slope arguments people make, like, today they come for our assault rifles and tomorrow they're, you know, whatever. I think people use that too much as an extreme of like nuttiness, right? But there are really simple incentive-based or disincentive-based rules the government could do that would fix most of their problems, right? Like, you ban assault rifles today, it'll be, you know, one of those Freakonomics things where, like, if they actually somehow effectively got them off the streets, it would take 20 years to see change, right? And it's not going to happen because there's too many illegal guns, so many people that already have them. You're not going to take them away from them, all these things, right? But what you could do is make any single violent crime that's used with a gun or any illegal action that's done with a gun, just like make the penalty 10 times worse. Now you're going to have people arguing what should be illegal, what should be legal. That's already an argument. But like, the biggest, you know, most of the biggest like school shootings and crazy things that have happened, right? Like when in Los Angeles, that one thing when, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, when like those dudes had the full body armor and tried to rob the bank just like in broad daylight and just started shooting at the cops when they came out, just got in their car and did the shootout thing. Those dudes got caught with those guns and that stuff like a few days before the thing. And it was like,
well,
and they could have been put on some watch list or something because what they were doing to be pulled over was illegal, right? If they would have just watched them for a few days, they probably would have stopped many people from dying. And most of those people were cops that got shot by them, right? So most cops should agree with that. But they didn't, right? Like,
we live in a world of a pendulum. Everything swings one way.
Yes, and the problem is nobody just freaking grabs it and goes like, how about a little common sense here? Like, nobody. And so here's the thing. I have this funny thought. We kind of talk about this a lot, right? Because I don't think anybody who is in their right mind should look at any of the politicians who are the two most important ones that people are voting for in a week, right? And go, oh man, this is my number one choice of what. And I'm being nice when I say that. Most people look at them and should be puking in their mouth a little bit when they go, I'm voting for this person, right? And I have this really funny thought. It's related but unrelated in a way. Have you? You have to be kind of a punk rocker. Emilio, who's listening, might know. But have you ever heard of a band called Body Count? Kind of like a
I think it might
punk.
I don't.
Kind of like a punk band, kind of like a metal band. But the singer of the band is Ice-T, the dude who's like became a rapper and an actor and whatever. And their most famous song from like the 80s, right? Like, and they would play with punk bands and stuff. It's called Cop Killer. There was a song about him fantasizing about putting on his black shirt, putting on his black gloves, and going out to kill cops, which is just crazy, right? But the reason I'm saying this is, one, it was always really funny amongst punk rockers that he's an actor and he now plays a cop on TV for way longer than he sang that song, which is just really funny. But I know he's anti-Trump because I follow him on Twitter and whatever. And I just had this thought yesterday, just out of nowhere, was I wonder how he feels that he's gonna go to the polling places in a week, or maybe he wrote
Well, that's
in
how
the
you know
ballot,
he's not a real cop.
and he's gonna vote for a cop. This dude who was, as a teenager, as a young man, hated the authority so much that he wrote a song about fantasizing about killing cops, is gonna go vote for a cop.
Who's the cop that he's voting for?
I mean, Kamala Harris was a prosecutor, worked for the government.
No.
I mean, by all means, she's a cop, right? Like in the eyes of most people, she worked law enforcement. She's a part of law enforcement, like, right? At least in my mind, that's how I thought about it. And so I thought how funny it is that dude is going to go vote for a cop. And because in my mind, I'm still like, I still reel at these ideas because I'm never Trump kind of person, right? Yeah, an officer of the court. There we go. Kevin.
So now you're just not going to vote?
Right? I think I will. No, I'm going to vote because I have.
Oh, you're voting against crypto. That's what I hear. Oh, that's horrible.
I don't think that's true. Here's the thing, because we talked about this before, right? If we want to go by past results, whatever, both options are fucking horrific for our industry. Trump is horrible. Trump was, when he was president, horrible for our industry. He did absolutely nothing.
We'll get some good NFTs.
Hey. No, we're getting some really shitty NFTs. You think any of the Trump NFTs are any good?
At least he's got them. But at least he's got
some. Hey, at least
we know that we can still comfortably sell NFTs.
We'll always have our friends, the friends we made, right? Yeah, I know. Look. Here's where I was going with this stupid thing, and now you got me going again. The people who donated most to Trump the first time around, the people who are the biggest, if you don't want to say that politicians are controlled by other people and don't go down the crazy rabbit hole of these things, you just go, politicians by default have to be insanely influenced by certain special interest groups that are paying for them to get into power, because without millions and millions of dollars in donations to run ads and do these things, it's impossible to win, right? It just is. And Trump is actually way better about it than other people because he's his own media machine and knows that just being familiar and getting on TV is important, right? He could do it for less money than the others. So, but there's influence. And when he was president, that influence clearly steered him away from many crypto things. Now, he's not currently in power, and all of those same institutions have flipped, at least from the perspective of, hey, we're JP Morgan, we're super anti-crypto. Hey, we're BlackRock, we're super anti-crypto. These are some of the largest, most influential organizations in the world, and they've now made a lot of money and adjusted their systems to make money in crypto. But the people who put the current administration in power are those same groups. Who donated more to Elizabeth Warren than existing legacy financial institutions? Nobody else, right?
I think we need people in business, not more lawyers.
Yes, but that's I agree. But Trump showed us last time around that didn't really count, and his draining the swamp didn't happen, right? Every person.
But wars are better, other things like that we have now.
I don't think there's been much of a difference. To be fair, I really don't believe that there's been much of a difference. But here's the thing: Trump, he speaks at a Bitcoin conference. Could have been 5 minutes of amazing stuff, but he spent 90 minutes talking about bullshit. And the people that same Bitcoin conference would have been sickened to hear would be the potential head of the Federal Reserve or Treasury amongst Trump. He throws out there as potential people. And these are people who donated more to Elizabeth Warren than anybody else, right? So if you think that it's a different group of people, I think we're sadly mistaken, right? And I think we're lying to ourselves. No, I think whoever, I think there's going to be a changing of the guards. And I think that one might be better than the other for crypto. But I think that when the changing of the guards happens, that's also now those special interests have established their foothold in the industry.
I know what to expect if Trump comes into office.
It's what?
Kamala as a vice president, I don't know what she's done while she's vice president.
Vice presidents don't do a lot, right? They kind of do
Well-
the bidding of whoever's in power and whatever. But I'm with you on that, right? So, but go forward with your thought.
No, that's it. I mean, but that's it. Like,
But what did Trump do? None of the things he said he was going to do. That's the thing. He has a bunch of people around him. This is what I'm worried about.
Well,
Like the
it's
things that RFK is saying out loud.
Yeah.
I'm all for. I'm stoked about
Yeah,
that.
if he
Most
can
of
do
the
that-
people and most of the people around Trump, if not all of them, are Democrats, right? Trump is a Democrat. Trump
Yeah,
has
he
donated
was,
more
he
to
was.
until he was president or he started running for president. He donated more. He hung out with the Clintons,
He did.
hung out with
Yeah.
Epstein
No,
and
he
all the
was a
people that
Democrat.
all the
That's what's funny
Republicans
about
hate.
this whole thing.
The dude is a diabolical genius that's convinced us he's not them, right? So wonderful.
Yeah, and
So
RFK is a Democrat too. Was
100% up until a few weeks ago. But what I'm saying is that Trump was surrounded by people he said he was going to put as his cabinet, and that's why people voted for him. None of those people lasted a month.
you're voting for a red Democrat Party.
You're voting for the who knows, right? Who knows what the hell we're voting for? Nobody knows, right? That's the thing. On either side, we don't really know.
Yeah.
And it's nonsense. And if we look at each of the people as people, there's one person we don't know that much about, and it's a career politician, so we don't like them. And then we know a lot about one person, and we should all fucking hate them because they're dickheads. Like they are assholes, and they're not good people to their family, to their wives, to their whatever.
Well,
And we shouldn't like them, right? Those are the two choices we have. We have an embarrassment of riches in America.
I think we need people that understand business though, instead of more lawyers, because we have enough lawyers.
That's what we said last time around, and it didn't do much for us, and he couldn't
It
fucking
did.
do anything.
It did work. We weren't
What
in
did
a
he do?
war.
What?
We weren't having wars. We were doing well with China. We were doing well with Russia. Things were going good. And then we drop it. Biden comes in, and now we have a war in Ukraine. We have a war in Israel. I mean, like, come on, like.
Hey, look, let's you know. I'm not sure any of those things were, you know, the thing is we don't really know because we also had COVID in the middle of it all, and we don't know what would have happened and what could have happened, and the thing is I don't think we know, and I don't think either of them are in charge the way. What?
I just think we need to make America great.
America is pretty great. Let's compare it to the rest of the world. We're great, but it's you know. Look,
But how about
here, Kevin. Here's I'm going to make a list, like try to not make this so offensive because you're 1,000,000% right. But he's doing exactly what every politician does, right? We have leadership in California, and all the things they say out loud is exactly what we want those politicians in
like I said,
in California to do, right?
nothing that
But
you
they
hear-
don't do it.
Believe nothing that you hear and only half of what you see. I saw that in a video a couple days ago, and I absolutely agree with that.
Again, yeah. So we should all be freaking offended, and we should all be throwing up in our mouths for whoever we're voting for. And I think we all should be offended on each other's behalf that half of our country is willing to vote for the other person who we think is the bigger of the two evils, right? And we should all be appalled that this is our country. Like that's what I truly believe. It's really sad. I think it's totally fucked up. I don't think like
I'm looking forward to the election when the election is actually on chain.
Yeah, but the thing is we need to, so many things have to change beforehand. And like, look, we go on TV and we see, you know, people on one side going, you know, I don't even know, right? Like it's just the most extreme. They're gonna force your children to get, you know, sex change surgeries, right? And they go so far on those things that you go, that's freaking ridiculous. These people are nuts. Then on the other side, they you know, go to some extreme of you know, to the extreme version of Trump is a Nazi, right? And then everybody on that side goes, they're fucking nuts, right? Right? The truth lies somewhere on the spectrum in between. I think Trump is allowing people around him to say really horrible shit because it's helping get certain votes with certain groups, and he's just playing those games. And I think the other side does the exact same thing, right? What
You're
did
on
you
the
say?
same Twitter I'm on, right?
Yeah.
What are you watching?
What do you mean? What am I watching? Do you not see this happening on both sides? Like them
All
both
I see
saying the
is-
most extreme crazy shit.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit.
Twitter is you know,
It
if
just
you
depends on who you follow on Twitter.
yeah, I mean, I
I follow all the good stuff. I'm sorry.
I follow both sides. I try to follow both, but and so I see with certain friends posting certain things, I'm like, come on, dude. But then I see my friends on the
I
liberal
get that on
side saying
Facebook. I get it on
that's
Facebook.
nuts.
I
right?
try not to follow it on Facebook. That's
See,
just-
exactly, because Facebook is saying the things the Facebook people are saying the extremes you don't maybe want to hear.
Exactly.
And,
Well, it's just I see
and-
people that don't understand how tariffs work and how like business works, and so
of
it's
course,
just like
but here's the thing: is that like they're both saying shit that they have no intention of doing too, and well, we're gonna find out, right? We're gonna find out one way or the other on one side or the other. But I just don't think,
I
but
mean,
that's-
the worst
sad.
thing, the worst thing that Trump did for California was removing salt,
Remove what?
the salt, the tax, like being able to like
Yeah.
reduce your taxes because of California taxes.
But that's the whole thing. Is there's too many of these things and all the special interests in between and everything else, and I don't think any of us are going to get exactly what we want.
The
What
best
I was saying
president is the one that you don't notice, that keeps
Yeah.
the peace. That literally is like the best president.
but that's also
The fewer the laws,
those
the
are the
better.
least there is a quote about, you know, like societies, and that the people who should be running the countries are never the people who want those responsibilities
absolutely.
too.
Absolutely.
And that's also a big thing. Like what do they get out of it too, right? Like I'm not sure I'm not sure many people participating are doing it for the right reasons anymore.
No,
right?
absolutely not.
That's the
Well,
issue.
we have a bad incentive system because you want money, but you're wanting something that continually loses value, so you always want more. And that is
That's
bad incentive mechanism.
here's the beauty of the world we live in now, to spin this on an angle that I think is more positive. The world is smaller than ever. Within all the misinformation and all that, there is real information. Like, you know,
Harder to find though.
like we can become best friends with somebody on the other side of the world over the internet, you know, with little to no work, just because we decide to hop into the same playground, right? Like,
Yep.
It's no longer, hey, I have to. So we might not be happy with what's going on here, but we still live in a country that's, you know, compared to most, a really awesome place. And then, but people who don't like it can start shifting around. People who don't like where they live can start shifting around. Governments are going to have no choice pretty soon but to start competing. And you know,
No, I don't know about that. I mean, like
I think so. I think that if they go hard enough on certain things, right? If you know, taxes and
it's not like you can just easily move.
It's not that,
at least in the United
look,
States.
It's not super easy for me and you with families, whatever, right? But over time, it is easier than ever to move. Like if you just zoom out, right? The same way we're zooming out on Bitcoin, we should be delighted.
You'll never escape your taxes.
Look, I'm not looking to escape my taxes in any short term or medium term or long term. And I'm not expecting anybody. Why move? Because if let's say your kid goes, you know what? I met a woman who lives in this country that went over college. I'm going to go do a semester of school in that country or that place. Easier than ever to do something like that,
Awesome.
right?
Yes.
And they might be talking to you about, hey, should I stay? Should I go? Should I this? You're no longer going, you do want them close to you because you love them and you want them close to you, but you also live in a world where a flight is not what it used to be, right? Yeah, you know, even we think about it from state to state, but imagine if you're in Europe. That means country to country. Right?
They travel all the time.
Flights, trains, whatever are super cheap. Even for the United States, like I can go fly to London for not that much money.
That's like us going from a different state to a different state. For them, it's a different country to a different country.
Look, and so if your kid decides I'm going to establish myself in this country because they're competing and doing the right thing,
Yeah.
That's going to create issues over the next generation in this country if they don't fix shit.
Yeah.
And so they will. They'll have to. They'll have no choice, right?
Yeah.
Either that or they're trying to build bigger moats, right? Which never works, right? We talk about it in crypto and DeFi. The groups that have the bridges tend to do better because they're confident in their product, right? Make it easy to travel to and from America, and America will become a better place, right? Not worse. If you believe we are the better place. If you don't believe we're the better place, build bigger walls. Don't let people in, especially don't let people out. Right?
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting because it's like it depends on who's in control. Like, I would say like the portion of the U.S. is we have a large older population, right?
Yeah.
And the government prints a lot of money, and medical companies come and pick up the tab.
That's the thing. That's not like good capitalism. That's good corruption, right?
Yeah, exactly. But we have
and that needs to be changed, right? And I think younger people go, if I'm going to pay this much taxes, at least give me health insurance or something, right?
Well, then
it needs to be one way or another. But right now, it's the worst of both worlds.
And for some reason, when you use insurance, your prices are significantly higher than if you were just to pay cash for it. Often,
yeah.
Which means there's some level of extortion there. It seems like
a huge level of extortion. That's literally blessed, by the government through these rules and laws that they've created that only help the largest financial institutions, the insurance companies, right? It's not, they didn't go like the fact that we have, like, think about this.
Yeah.
In a certain category, right? Like we're talking about selling services, right? I'm going to sell a car. Are commercials important for cars? Sure. Subaru needs you to see their commercials, so you buy their car. You know what? Tesla has figured out how to do it without those commercials. Whatever, right? But marketing is a thing. But when we're talking about, let's say I have skin cancer, and there's one product for sure, right? That's the best product to take care of that skin cancer. Why the fuck would you have a commercial for that product on a television, on TV? Because you're competing with others who might not be as good. That's one category that shouldn't have that, but they have to have it because of the weird corruption in that system.
I'm curious in when government data starts becoming public on blockchains. Because right now there's
you know what though?
Push that they want it privatized, but realistically public data should be public. I mean,
public data should be public, and that would be interesting. But you know what's interesting is I would think just by default, the government's data, at least in the categories I'm thinking about right now, aren't going to be as good as some research center or something, right? But for it to not be public, then you can't compare and you can't run tests, you can't do things. But I think more and more decentralized science will be a thing, and all data will become a thing, and that'll be really cool.
I mean, it's going to be fascinating how AI utilizes all that data.
Yeah, it'll just be able to ingest it and parse it in ways we can't do.
It's either going to be really cool in the next 10 years or really scary. And it's awesome that, our children are going to be the ones who get to drive that forward.
I think it'll be really cool. I think though, going back to that talk we had with Alex the other day, is like, what's your passion and what's your purpose? Because we are getting to a certain point where, I don't know if that's in our lifetime, but let's say it does happen in our kids' lifetime. That's kind of scary. Like, what happens when you don't really need to be working? Like, what are you going to do with your life? Like,
well, I know. I think
like that's depressing. Like, it's weird. Like, what do you do? Right?
You have to find purpose. You have to find
exactly.
Purpose.
So I think that's what we need to focus on, the now and the purpose and everything. Hey, we gotta I gotta jump to a call after this. We gotta wrap this up. But dude, you know what's funny? Actually, we might have to figure out what to do next week, because next week is I think election day. I actually have a meeting in the morning that day, and I might not be able to be live with you.
Oh man, so we're gonna have to talk 100% Trump, huh?
Get out the vote for your dude, man. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe I could do the live stream on the drive back, maybe, which would be kind of funny. But let's talk. We'll have some fun. We'll figure it out. We'll do something for sure. It'll be election day. It'll be chaos and interesting. We'll see Bitcoin all-time highs between now and then.
Well, it depends.
And then it'll dump. No, it'll dump. It'll dump election day, right? Like that's what's happening right now. I would think, by the
limit orders ready.
By the rumors, sell the news. All right. everyone have a great week. I hope we didn't offend
We didn't, okay.
everyone too hard, because I tried to do an equal opportunity offending today. Because I think we should all be really sad right now, which is just
Which
to
part?
me of everything. These are our choices. I think we're screwed.
There's a lot going on right now.
And I think that if those are our choices, if we're thinking politics, you know,
Well,
we need to make a new system, and that's what we're all working on, right?
If anything, we need clarity, at least as going forward, as to where we're
Well,
going.
that's
Investors
yeah,
are
at a minimum.
comfortable in the market.
At a minimum. That's your perception. You're making it weird. Nothing offensive. I do like making things weird. And we do need a new system. And I think in the meantime, we need to clear things up, and hopefully some change, no matter what it is, will be good. I think it will be. I think both sides, you know, the actual people in charge, the actual people, influential staffers, people like that are us, right? They need this system to change too. They can't afford to buy a house. It's a problem. So that's it. All right, dude. I will see you later, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, bye.
Bye-bye.